Good morning. It's 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 18th of January, and you are watching Ireland AM.
We've both got our cups here this morning. It is freezing outside, so definitely get the old kettle boiled for the front of the windscreen today.
Snowing.
Well done to
Gavin and Carlo and all over the place.
All the gritters up all through the night. Fair play to you guys.
Absolutely.
And gals. Now, coming up, from political leaders to celebrities, we discuss why the world's elite have descended on Davos.
Plus, the rise of the machines. We get the latest on a revolutionary new technology that you probably have heard out, ChatGPT, that could change how you use the internet. And if you're a college student, you may never have to write an essay again.
So it's not the metaverse. This is AI,
it's artificial intelligence.
I can't wait for that. It's interesting. Now, gold medal winning track and field athlete David Gillick, he's going to reveal his top tips to make your couch to 5K a reality.
Oh, there we go, Alan. Did you buy a tracksuit last week when you said you were going to buy a pair?
No.
You didn't, of course you didn't.
I was looking for and couldn't find one I liked, so.
Well, you do couch to 5K?
No.
No, okay. There we go.
Also on the show this morning, they were arch enemies in Carrickstown, but the best of friends in real life. Claudia Carroll and Clelia Murphy will be dropping by for a chat later on. Well, when I say a chat, it's probably just them just yapping to us.
Leave them at it.
On the couch, leave them at it.
Ask them how they are and off they go.
Deric, is that cold snap going to continue over the next few days?
No sign of a thaw just yet, unfortunately. The top trend, Schnockta online at the moment. Plenty of line snow on the ground out there this morning and out there today. That mix of hail, thunderstorm activity with that taster winter conditions right across today. In fact, guys, it's a bitterly cold one out there today. So maybe if anyone has snow pics, get them into us through our socials. We might show them on air across the morning.
So, thanks very much, Deric. It is absolutely freezing out there, all right? So be careful if you're on the roads. But now it's time to get the news with Anne O'Donnell.
Good morning. The Dáil returns from its Christmas break today with demands for Paschal Donohoe to take questions from opposition TDs about the funding of his 2016 election campaign. Well, the Public Expenditure Minister says he wasn't aware that a businessman paid for posters to be put up during his campaign.
Ahead of the Dáil's return at noon today, 6 of the 7 opposition groups have written to the Ceann Comhairle asking for Minister Donohoe to take questions as soon as possible. They want him to explain further the circumstances behind an apparently unknown donation to the Minister's election campaign in 2016. Paschal Donohoe confirmed at the weekend that a businessman friend, Michael Stone, paid for some of his company's staff to put up posters on the Minister's behalf. But he says he wasn't aware of this until after a complaint was made last week to the public ethics watchdog SIPO. The Minister says the staff, who were seen getting out of company vans to put the posters up, weren't on company time and were personally paid by Michael Stone. But the watchdog says donations of services are generally considered to be personal donations, which could mean the donation was more valuable than the law allows. Separately this morning, the Cabinet will approve new laws clamping down on the grooming of children into crime with a new jail term of 5 years, and consider proposals for charging points for electric vehicles to be placed every 60 kilometres along the country's main roads. Gavin Riley, Virgin Media News.
Opening statements will be heard today in the trial to determine whether or not Tesla CEO Elon Musk cheated investors by asserting in 2018 that tweets that he had lined up financing to take the electric automaker private. Well, Musk's tweets fueled a rally in the company's stock prices that abruptly ended a week later after it became apparent that he did not have the funding for a buyout after all. Investors then sued him. A jury was selected yesterday.
This trial is making clear how much public perception has changed of him since he completed the Twitter deal in October, because even his own attorneys wanted to move the trial from here to Texas. That was denied, but that was because they thought that in the San Francisco Bay Area, opinions have been so poisoned about him that it was going to be possible to find an impartial trial out of a jury.
Gardaí and Galway are appealing for witnesses following a serious crash involving a cyclist and a lorry. Well, the crash happened shortly before 6 p.m. yesterday evening at the Skerrit roundabout on the Old Dublin Road in Renmore. The cyclist, a man in his mid-30s, was rushed to University Hospital Galway, where his condition is understood to be serious. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his UK counterpart have expressed their hope for a resolution to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Well, issues over the protocol were discussed during a news conference in Washington. It comes after Northern Ireland's power-sharing government collapsed almost a year ago when the Democratic Unionist Party quit in protest against the trading barriers created by the arrangements known as the Northern Ireland Protocol.
We want to see devolved government in Northern Ireland and Stormont back up and running. We want to see a free flow of trade within the UK internal market whilst respecting the desire of the European Union to protect its single market. And we do these things because they are the right things to do, not because we are trying to hit a particular date or anniversary.
One of Vladimir Zelensky's senior advisors has resigned after claiming that the Russian missile that hit an apartment building in Dnipro had been downed by Ukraine's air defence systems. Alexei Arestovich announced his resignation on Facebook, saying it was an example of civilised behaviour. His comments caused widespread anger and forced Kyiv to issue a correction that it was not capable of shooting down that type of missile.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
Yes, sure, we're in the thick of a cold snap at the moment. No sign of any let-up just yet. So with that in mind, let's take an opening look at weather together now with Deric Cullinan with us on camera. It's the 17th of the month and we're kicking off with a status yellow snow and ice warning in place now for counties Donegal, Leitrim and into County Sligo until 9 a.m. this morning. Elsewhere, plenty of showers. In fact, we're seeing some heavy spills through parts of Galway, Mayo into West Limerick, parts of Kerry and into Western Cork as well. And right down the central spine of the country, we have a band of heavy showers there in that stretch from Cavan through Castle Pollard into Mullingar and Tullamore there in County Offaly, not escaping either. And as the morning goes on, the best of brightness really onto the east coast in those moderate to fresh west to northwesterly winds. Now, right across this afternoon, again, another wintry day in store. I suppose for the west and into the north, that's where we're going to get that ongoing risk of sleet and snow. So get the cameras out today. But elsewhere as the day progresses, we're going to see some nice bright spells. In fact, some nice January sunshine on the cards as well. But where those showers do hit, remember that ongoing risk of hail and thunderstorm activity out there as well today. So right across then into tonight, again, it's that mixture of clear spells and some scattered showers. Those wintry showers once again affecting parts of the west and into northern areas right along the northern coast into the Inishowen Peninsula as well. Freezing fog, black ice as well on the roads, making for treacherous driving conditions. So please do take extra care. Another bitterly cold night in store too. Valleys there on average at about freezing to 2, but falling back to -1 to -4 degrees once again into tonight. So that's how it's shaping up for now. It's pretty cold out there to wrap up. We'll be back in live at 7:35.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
After the break, Jack Horgan-Jones will be taking a look at what's making the news in this morning's papers. Will Gary Lineker get a shout-out? He will. We'll talk to you shortly. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Coalition set to sign off on 2.5 billion apartments redress plan. The government is preparing to sign off on a scheme costing up to 2.5 billion to address defects in up to 100,000 Celtic Tiger-era apartments, but will face further pressure to deliver for thousands of homeowners who have already paid to remediate such issues.
New plan to jail adults who groom kids into a life of crime. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Adult offenders will face up to 5 years in prison for grooming children into a life of crime.
The Examiner leads with personal injuries cost GAA 15 million. Personal injury claims taken against the GAA have cost the association 15 million over the past 5 years.
Take a hike is the top story on the Mirror. Hard-pressed householders have been hammered for essentials with record price hikes over the past year. A CSO study shows the cost of milk, bread and butter skyrocketed, with electricity bills shot up by nearly 63% and gas prices surged by 86.5%.
The Herald's front page, Nadine's killer face slashed in jail attack. Killer Daniel Murta, who beat his ex-girlfriend Nadine Lott to death in 2019, has had his face sliced open in a brutal jailhouse attack.
The Star leads with Monk's Tower Records. Gardaí investigating Jerry the Monk Hutch over his alleged role in the Regency Hotel murder examined 83 mobile phone cell sites in 4 counties. The trial heard.
The Sun leads with Match of the Day host Gary Lineker was pranked with the sound of an adult movie during last night's FA Cup coverage. Lads, it went on for 10 minutes.
I don't know, it was an adult movie. It might not have
It
been.
might not have been.
Adult recording, I would say, and...
An adult recording. I thought it sounded just like shouting. I didn't get it. Don't know what sort of... I didn't get it.
Well, if you don't know much more about that, maybe you should, you can Google it. I'm sure you'll find it.
Never heard the sound in my life.
And finally, the Daily Mail goes with fear the pensions gender gap will worsen. Proposal by the government for an auto-enrolment pension scheme will leave women worse off and widen the pensions gender gap. And a Oireachtas committee will be warned today. So joining us with that story and everything else in this morning's papers is political reporter with the Irish Times, Jack Horgan-Jones. Good morning to you, Jack.
Morning, folks.
We won't get into the
He's
Gary
head
Lineker.
down. He's like, don't bring up Gary Lineker.
Don't bring up the adult noise.
Don't bring up the adult
Just leave the
noise.
adult
For
noise.
10 minutes on the BBC
pensions,
last
pensions.
night.
Let's talk about another adult conversation that I feel that you definitely don't talk about this when you're not an adult. Pensions, auto-enrolment pensions.
Yes.
What's the story?
Yes, and this is actually something that many adults don't talk about as well, because pensions and the pensions time bomb, the pensions cliff edge is something that we're all getting used to hearing about, or have been getting used to hearing about over the last little while. But it's also something that a lot of us haven't done anything about, because, look, I have to confess that, I was one of these people who glazed over when pensions came up for a long time. But last year, the government made 2 kind of significant interventions to try and address this growing issue of, an ageing population that hasn't sufficiently provided for itself in the future. One being the age of the pensions, which was a politically toxic issue in the last general election. And the second, arguably more important intervention is the issue of auto-enrolment, which was rolled out. The wrappers were taken off it, I suppose, this time last year. Heather Humphreys, the Minister for Social Protection, detailing a scheme whereby for every €3 a worker puts in, the state will match that and the employer will be asked to put in another euro. So basically it's a €4 for €3 scheme due to come into place from next year onwards. Now, the important and interesting thing is that one feature of what was rolled out last year, the capacity to make a kind of big top-up payment was removed from the heads of bill when they were published last October, and that is now the subject of what's called pre-legislative scrutiny.
So this is if someone, so say you're putting in your €3 into your pension, the government is putting in €1 of that, and then the employer are going to put in a bit as well.
Every
That's
week,
it.
whatever.
But if you go, I have an extra £100 this month, I want to put it in. They have now said you can't do that.
They've now said that may be something that they will revisit in the future, but it's not in the initial rollout of the scheme.
Is that because they don't want to have to match it?
Not necessarily. It's just,
like,
I think it may just be the complexity underlying it. But I mean, the real.
So that means you'll have to set up your own private pension as long as the auto-enrolment one.
Exactly, and then if you do that, obviously you won't necessarily get the matching state contributions into that, and your employer may well turn around and say, "Well, I'm not making matching contributions or any contributions into your private one because I'm already paying into the auto-enrolment." Now, where I think this gets really interesting is the evidence that the Oireachtas Committee, the relevant Oireachtas Committee, is going to hear today from Irish Life, which says that the capacity to make these top-up or once-off payments is particularly useful when it comes to offsetting the gender pay gap that also exists within pensions. Because when you look at the stats, when you take a step back from it over a lifetime's work, it's not unusual for women to spend longer outside of the workforce than men. And that introduces this gap or this dogleg between the level of contributions that women make over the course of a working life compared to men. And some of the stats are quite striking as well. So the average total weekly pension income in 2010 was €280 for women, €433 for men. So you can see at the end of your working life, when you come to draw down that's a fairly substantial difference. And one of the ways you can offset that is, as and when you come into lump sums, you can potentially load it in. And that's the concern, that if they're removing this capacity from the new auto-enrolment scheme, they will actually kind of solidify and make more entrenched that gender pay gap that exists.
It's not considered work when you're in the home, and my God, are people working more? Women do it, of course, so they are taken out when they've got children in the home. And I think an awful lot of people who are on pensions now couldn't survive without their husband's pension if they had to deal with their own. You can get in contact with us, 0896 111 111. One thing that this doesn't address either is the fact that we are increasingly moving into a gig economy. So you get a job, you've got a contract. No, you're not my employee. You're your own thing. Do your own PRSI, do everything yourself. That's increasingly happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And across
this will push
every
it into
industry.
more, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
We like to think of it kind of as neatly confined to Uber or Deliveroo or something like that.
No.
That's happening more and more. People are working for themselves, and that relationship between employer and employee is being severed or never being created in the first place. So how do you vindicate these rights that are being created for you at a legislative level?
Yeah.
Very complex.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, there is a big pension problem coming down the track, and they need to do something to try and
they need to do something, absolutely, and fair play to them for addressing it, but they should also be careful not to kind of embed those structural differences or not address those emerging issues.
Of course.
Like Myrna has identified.
Listen, let's move on to the GAA. So personal injury claims against the GAA, 15 million over 5 years. What I was surprised with this was actually, though, that 2/3 of those were from non-GAA activities.
Really interesting, yeah. So, I mean, you would expect that like a sporting organisation of the scale of the GAA would have a certain amount of people who injure themselves in the course of playing GAA in a given year or a 3-year period. But what you don't really see is because you have, obviously, a nationwide organisation matched up against what some would probably say is a nationwide kind of compo culture. And you have people who are just either taking a walk on GAA grounds, slip, trips and falls, seems to cost them about 1.2 million, or other organisations
1.2 million?
Yeah, 1.2 million out of
incredible,
yeah,
isn't
exactly.
it?
And that's, you'd have to presume, it's just someone walking across the threshold of a GAA ground and
Slipped
tripping
and-
over. Exactly, yeah. But then there's other sporting organisations who might use, for example, the AstroTurf in a GAA ground. You might have five-a-side played there a couple of evenings a week, and they're saying that often the GAA club finds itself in a position where it's liable for an injury that happens effectively on the kind of grounds or on the time of another sporting organisation, albeit on its grounds, because there's a divot or something in the AstroTurf. So this is all something that they're saying has to be the GAA, and it's Mayo's Monday's Connacht GAA convention heard about this. They're saying this has to be addressed because increasingly they're finding it very difficult to get insurance.
Of course they are.
If they're finding it difficult to get insurance because of non-GAA activities that are happening in GAA clubs,
they'll stop everything.
That'll stop everything, and indeed it imperils to an extent.
And it's really sad
GAA
that,
activities
because
themselves.
I think of my childhood growing up in rural Ireland, like, a local community, and the GAA held everything. It was on the pitches, it was run by the community around that sort of area. But if they're not going to be able to hold these festivals and events because they can't get insurance for it, it's the kids, it's the local community are going to miss out of it because one or two people are claiming.
But it goes back to the judiciary, because we've said, once you set a precedence on how much you can get by law for an injury, small claims court or whatever, that's what it said. Ireland is so high. We've been talking about this for years going, that's what are we doing? And there's a few judges out there now that are going, absolutely not. Like, we all have the stories of someone backing out, a judge seeing the CCTV and going, no, that's a false claim, I'm going to charge you. We need more of that. And we need to readdress this to go, this is ridiculous, because every single person who's watching right now has a story where they know someone who rolled down the hill at a heritage site and they took a claim.
What are you going to do? I mean,
So it has to be tackled.
Yeah.
It has to be tackled. 0896 111, get in contact.
I think it's just such a shame that you can't get insurance for these events, whatever else. Right, let's move on to getting some sleep, something that is pretty pressing matter on this show. And something, this is for you. Do you love a scary, you love a scary podcasts?
Scare bedtime?
To get me to sleep, I used to listen to murder podcasts. Now I listen to books, but I used to listen.
Murder
I found
podcasts.
because the voices when they're talking about women being brutally murdered are often very calm. So I fall
It sends you into a good dream, that, does it?
Off you go. Yeah, no, I have stopped because I was having weird dreams. But what's going on here?
University of Freiburg, Swiss study, has found that watching suspenseful thrillers, particularly those filled with cliffhangers, help people nod off. But what I think is interesting here is the control group. So it was shown a documentary, presumably something that, would kind of normally set you off to sleep. But the documentary is called Islands of the Future, where communities living off the coast of mainland Europe confront energy issues and presumably energy crises. I mean, that's not exactly the kind of thing that would send me to sleep. That would make me a lot more worried than some kind
Unless it's really boring science and you're like, I'm off, lads. I don't get it.
So is that that's the that's the opposite to the one with the cliffhangers.
Apparently
is it?
so, yeah.
That's
So
the one that's
apparently, and unsurprisingly, if you're staring into the abyss of energy, of the terrible energy future that awaits us in Europe and elsewhere, you're going to find it harder to sleep than if you're just watching a monster movie.
I would think that if I had to watch a movie on pensions, that probably would send me sleep a lot quicker than any scary movie.
Have we lost you? Have you
else.
dropped off again? That's not good. What do you just fall asleep?
Yeah.
Mindfulness podcast?
Yeah, probably something that sends me asleep.
Something
the brain's gone
wholesome.
mad.
You know what we want? Those weird things, whether it is true crime, mindfulness, nothing at all. Send your baby crying, send you off to sleep. 089 611 111. Jack Horgan-Jones from the Irish Times. Thank you so much for joining us.
Or else just get up at a ridiculous hour in the morning. That normally gets you sleep pretty quickly in the evening too.
Up next, we've got all you need to know on the what's going on at the World Economic Forum. It happens every single year, but what happens in Davos? We'll be chatting about it next.
For it? Now, it will attract 200 cabinet ministers, 1,500 business leaders, and the likes of Idris Elba. Maybe Bono might even be there. But what exactly happens at the World Economic Forum in Davos?
Luther, they're going to catch a killer. Idris Elba is going to catch a killer. Helping to shed some light on this is Virgin Media News economic correspondent Paul Colgan. Welcome to the other building. Lovely to have you here.
Hey, thanks very much.
The World Economic Forum and Davos. We hear about it every single year. What is the World Economic Forum? What does it do?
Well, it's the biggest networking event for the world's richest and most powerful people. That's where they go every year, to the Alpine ski resort, to discuss their problems and the world's problems. And it's regarded as somewhere where you go to philosophize and strategize on behalf of the world, and lots of people who don't necessarily like the idea will turn up anyway because they want access to these people. So you'll have people who are there for humanitarian reasons, people who are there for charitable reasons. You want to catch the ear of these people, but it's a big gathering for billionaires, chief executives of the world's biggest countries or companies, and leaders of the world's countries.
Yeah, okay.
So we mentioned there 1,500 business leaders, 200 cabinet leaders, but the likes of Joe Biden, Rishi Sunak, a lot of the big economic powers aren't turning up.
Yeah, they've turned their back on it this year, and that might be a realization that what it stands for perhaps is outdated, outmoded. It's what they're talking about this year, they say, is cooperation in a fragmenting world, and it is a fragmenting world. At its peak, this was all about global capitalism and how global capitalism is going to save the world. And if we could only harness it properly, we could solve all our problems. But what we've seen over the past couple of years is the richest people in the world getting even richer and amassing even more wealth. And we've had Russia invading Ukraine. We've had tensions with China and worries that they may decouple from the world's economy in the same way that Russia has been sanctioned and made to decouple from its trading relationship with the West to a large extent. So what does this mean anymore? Is it as relevant as it once was? So in terms of the G7 group of countries, there's only one guy who's turned up, and that's Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor. All the rest of them have stayed away, including the French President, Emmanuel Macron, the leader of China, Joe Biden, Rishi Sunak.
Because they used to always be there, but increasingly as it becomes more elitist and as you mentioned, you know, the societal difference of the 1% and the 99%, which became even more glaring during COVID when you see billionaires making billions during this time. So for us, like, who do we have going? And is it important that they go to have access to be like, how are you, Bill Gates? We're here, invest. Hi, Intel. Hi, Google.
So from our point of view, we're a small globalized economy, and we depend greatly on what's happening in terms of global trade patterns. And obviously, we've huge amounts of US investment in this country. There's talk about a tech crunch at the minute, and reports this morning that Microsoft will make an announcement today regarding layoffs at Microsoft, a big employer here. The latest in a long line of these tech companies who have said they're going to do that. So with that in mind, the government will be in attendance, as it normally is, at Davos. The Taoiseach will be there from today to the end of the week. Several other ministers, representatives from IDA Ireland, which is the body which seeks to bring investment to Ireland, they'll be there because it's simply too important an opportunity to miss in terms of touching base with these big companies, with their chief executives, touching base with new companies who perhaps they might see coming to Ireland in the future. So it's something that they believe they cannot turn down. And they'll be among 52 other heads of states who will be in attendance this week.
The whole thing gets a lot of criticism, though, because, I mean, you have heads of states, you have people with an awful lot of money trying to, I suppose, see the best way forward for the planet and for the people out there. But there's a lot of criticism saying that they're out of touch. A lot of these people, I mean, they're flying over there in their private jets.
Yeah.
You know, how many private jets are flying into Davos or that sort of areas? And then to talk about how we're going to save the planet.
Yeah, so many of them are unelected to that role, that they're self-appointed simply because they're the wealthiest people in the world. They feel that they somehow have a unique insight into how they should organise it. And this is grist to the mill of conspiracy theorists all over the world who believe that all sorts of nefarious plans are being drawn up in Davos. And to a certain extent...
Is that the sort of conspiracy behind it, is it?
Well, it's if you were looking for a conspiracy theory, it would be a fairly obvious one to come up with. But
this is the secret world government where everything is actually controlled from.
Oh, yes, right.
But,
it's great crack.
But it's... I don't think you need to go that far to come to the conclusion that these people have huge amounts of power and dictate what goes on for millions of people.
That is a reality, and I know that there's, the private jets, but we all know you get more done in real life talking face to face than you do over a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Like it is as simple as that. But this thing has become so tied up in glamour because it's in Davos. It's a gorgeous Swiss ski resort, and there's loads of celebs there as well. What's that about? Why are they kind of like, come on in? There's a billionaire there, you have a chat.
I think there's fewer than there used to be.
Yes.
If you go back through the guest lists, you go back to 2016, Leonardo DiCaprio was there with his entourage, and then there was a huge amount of celebs there. This year, it's fairly thin on the ground. You have Idris Elba, who received an award for his humanitarian work yesterday. He's a UN Goodwill Ambassador. You have will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, that's what's happened.
So... beyond that, having a look at the guest list, it doesn't look
It's gone down.
It doesn't look that.
I mean, a lot of those celebrities
Tommy,
probably have their own foundations and charities and stuff. And if you're there to be able to touch up the right people who've got, I mean, not touch up is the right word, but actually go press the flesh.
There's a report in the Daily Mail today.
Well, there is a report on the Daily Mail. There's a lot of touching up that goes on over there. But very, very interesting. Listen, let's move on from that. Virgin Media News economic correspondent Paul Colgan, thank you so much for that.
Paul's like, stop saying the term touching
Don't
up.
ask me about that, please.
He's never going to come to this building again. He's come back to the newsroom. Alan, darling, how are you?
Tommy, let's move on. Coming up, it's the new AI chat box that could change the internet forever. After the break, we find out what ChatGPT is. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, a new artificial intelligence chatbot has taken the internet by storm for its ability to communicate in a meaningful way better than I can.
I was just going to say, it's going to take over from us. We'll go like this. And the chatbot can just say all the words. Joining us now to discuss this new bot, ChatGPT, is Professor Alan Smeaton from the School of Computing at DCU. It's lovely we're definitely going to be replaced. We're the first when the rise of the machines take over. What is, like, the last few weeks, all I'm hearing is ChatGPT. What is it?
Yeah, and people say ChatGPT because it's hard to get your tongue around that.
Yeah.
So it's a computer program. You register on a website, username and password, usual stuff, and you can basically interact with it. Type in something, it'll type something back. Type in something, it'll type something back. And it does so with an accuracy that you start to believe, gosh, it's really accurate. Its language is really very well polished, and you believe that it is, like a chatbot, it is a real person behind it. But not only can you interact with it, you can also ask it to generate text for you. So generate a recipe for making marmalade.
So you would type in, I want a recipe to make marmalade.
Yeah, and it could go chuk, chuk, chuk. It will type it out faster than you can read it.
So, like, people would do this with Google. So, give me a recipe for marmalade in Google search, and it will give you a recipe. So, what's the difference?
Difference with Google is that Google will give you a list of web pages where you can find a recipe. And it will take some snippets and it will put them together like that. ChatGPT will say, well, it has digested or crawled
all that information.
No, it hasn't crawled all of the information.
Okay.
Google has crawled everything on the internet, pretty much. ChatGPT has crawled a portion of it. How much? We don't know. And how accurate is it? We don't know. So when you go to Google to get a recipe for marmalade, you know you're getting a recipe for marmalade.
Yeah.
When you go to ChatGPT, you're getting a portion of the internet, or what a portion of the internet thinks a recipe for marmalade might be.
So the most popular sort of things, the one that's hit the most, that gets the most hits?
In terms of topics?
Yeah, no, as in, like, say, would it be like the top 3 recipes of 3 billion hits? It'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to take those ones. You don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Who's designing
Who developed
this?
it?
Who developed it?
Because it's free.
Yeah, so it's free at the moment,
Yes.
but you only get 3 months of free, right? And it's a teaser. It's to tempt you to put your hand in your pocket and read out your credit card and then take out a paid subscription for it. So who built it is a company called OpenAI, formed in 2016 with $1 billion worth of funding. $1 billion worth of funding to do all sorts of exotic things with artificial intelligence. And this is their first public demonstration of it.
Now, this can do, like we were sort of saying, it give you a recipe, but there has been concerns in colleges and universities that these will write your papers for you and your essays.
Yeah.
And it can.
And it can produce text, but you should not trust that text because it makes mistakes and it doesn't know everything. It comes across in its dialogue as one of those people who think they know everything. You know those people who, even when they're wrong, they think they're right. Even when they're wrong, they think they're right. And if you point out that they're wrong on something, they're still right. It
Don't
comes
trust me.
across as knowing everything, and therefore it lures you into a sense of believing it's right with things. So I would never use it for an essay because I would never trust it. It also gets things wrong.
Yeah, because you asked, it said that Tommy played for Wales.
Yeah. Just so last night, I was just playing with it, and I said, "Oh, who is Tommy Bowe?" Not that I didn't know who Tommy Bowe was. I thought I'd ask who Tommy. And it said,
you're covering yourself. Covering yourself there.
And it said,
who even are you?
Said it, blah blah blah. You know, rugby international, played for Ospreys, played for Ulster, etc., and played for the Welsh national team. And I went, "No, he didn't."
Never played for the Welsh national team.
No, he didn't.
No.
And my wife said, "Are you sure he didn't play for the Welsh national team?"
But you see, you're seeing it like that, and you start to doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh, maybe he did at some stage.
So going back to the essay thing, or to using it in student kind of uses, etc., you can't trust what it tells you because it will make mistakes.
But will it develop over the years and it will collate on more information and it will become the tool that people will use?
Yes. Ultimately, it will replace the way we search for information now. Currently, we go to Google and we get a ranked list of web pages. But you know, we've been doing that for more than 25 years.
Are Google worried?
They should be.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you're in college.
Yeah.
We've got there's articles now from a lot of deans of universities going, please don't use this, please don't use this, please don't use this. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
Because as you say, it collates data. That data mightn't be correct, but of course it could be correct.
Yeah.
And if you're doing creative writing, what's right and what's not right.
Yeah.
But you work in a college. Are students using it?
In some universities, they've taken the knee-jerk approach to ban it. So New York State universities, not allowed. Australian universities, not allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's a complete ban. And that is unenforceable. You can't enforce that, okay, because there's always ways around it. Are our university banning it? No, we're still in a moral panic over what to do with it.
Yeah.
So universities in our neck of the woods haven't figured out what it is, what it can do, both constructively and damaging, and then come up with guidelines on how it's used. I was lecturing 130 students yesterday morning. I was teaching about data analytics, and they're marketing students. And I asked for a show of hands, if any of you use ChatGPT? Some of them said, what's ChatGPT? And about a dozen of them put up their hands. And I picked on 3, just totally random, and I said, well, what did you use it for? One of them said he used it to produce an itinerary for his summer holidays in his trip to Southeast Asia. So by acting...
So can you enter... give me an itinerary if I'm travelling all over Asia. It will give you an itinerary, what you could do, where you could go.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and then you'll start to say, well, OK, give me an itinerary for somebody who is my age, with my sort of interests, and then it will refine that, and you end up being interactive.
I saw it generates business strategies. So business...
And it looks like, and it sounds like a business strategy. But it's like asking somebody who doesn't know anything about business to generate a business strategy, and this person has this uber confidence and says, here's a business strategy. And you think, gosh, that's a business strategy, but I wouldn't...
So it's Elon Musk. That's what it is. Amazing.
It is that person.
It is, like, that's what it is. But it's your students. So what else? Three of them. You asked 3 of them.
So I asked one, what did
Itinerary.
he do? And it was that. The second one generated, I think it was a cover letter for a job application.
Right.
Okay.
And that's okay. So here's the job spec, and here's my CV. write a cover letter which highlights the bits of that.
Good idea.
And I asked the third one, and he said, I used it for an essay. Oh, really? And how did you use it, actually? And he said, well, I put in the essay topic, and it gave me the structure for an essay. So it said, you should talk about this, that, this, and that. And then, did you take it further? No, I then did the bits and wrote the bits.
Okay, wrote the bits. Now, you asked it yesterday to write a song for us.
He's going to become Max
about
Martin.
getting up early in the morning. And there was two versions of it, okay? So the first one is just about a song about getting up. And this is what it came up. Alarm clock ringing, it's still dark outside. Gotta shake off the sleep and open my eyes. Birds are chirping, the day is new. Gotta get up and make something out to do. Now, you then said, can we do it in an Eminem version?
I did, and it's...
So I'm just expecting misogyny.
No, I asked it to do it in the style of Eminem, and it said, I don't know who Eminem is.
Oh, but
Eminem.
then it gave it to you because it said, in the bed, feeling like a king, the alarm clock starts to ring. I hit the snooze, trying to catch a few more Z's, but the dream is over. Got to get up and put on my sneaks.
And that's another great example. So everything it knows about prior to 2021. Okay? Yeah. So it didn't know about Eminem because, well, he went off the grid for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's another example of how incomplete it is.
Yeah. But it will keep developing and it will be the thing that's the future.
And we're seeing the teaser for it right now.
Write that Eurovision track. Alan Smeaton,
oh yeah, write the best Eurovision song
Alan Smeaton,
ever.
School of Computing at DCU, and Little Al Hughes.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
I'm here till 10 o'clock.
And he goes into Elvis. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Back with you in a minute on Ireland AM. Thank you very much. Take a look at this morning's papers. We'll start with the Irish Times. Its headline, Coalition set to sign off on 2.5 billion apartments redress plan. The government is preparing to sign off on a scheme costing up to 2.5 billion to address defects in up to 100,000 Celtic Tiger-era apartments, but will face further pressure to deliver for thousands of homeowners who have already paid to remediate such issues.
New plan to jail adults who groom kids into a life of crime. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. Adult offenders will face up to 5 years in prison for grooming children into a life of crime.
The Examiner leads with personal injuries cost GAA 15 million. Personal injury claims taken against the GAA have cost the association 15 million over the past 5 years.
Take a hike is the top story on the Mirror. Hard-pressed householders have been hammered for essentials with record price hikes over the past year. A CSO study shows the cost of milk, bread and butter skyrocketed, with electricity bills shot up by 63% and gas prices surged by 86.5%.
The Herald goes with Nadine Killer's face slashed in jail attack. Killer Daniel Murta, who beat his ex-girlfriend Nadine Lott to death in 2019, has had his face sliced open in a brutal jailhouse attack.
The Star leads with Monk's Tower Records. Gardaí investigating Jerry the Monk Hutch over his alleged role in the Regency Hotel murder examined 83 mobile phone cell sites in 4 counties.
The Sun leads with Match of the Day host Gary Lineker was pranked with the sound of an adult movie during last night's FA Cup coverage for 10 minutes before the game.
Funny. And finally, the Daily Mail goes with fear the pensions gender gap will worsen. Proposals by the government for an auto-enrolment pension scheme will leave women worse off and widen the pensions gender gap. And a Oireachtas committee will be warned today.
Now, we were also mentioning earlier on in the news that there's this study at the University of Ghent that shows watching horror movies, especially ones with cliffhangers, help people drop off to sleep.
I would have thought that would be the last thing in the world that would help you go to sleep because you'd be terrified.
The study says it, Al.
And you wouldn't want to turn off the lights then because you'd be terrified that something was going to come in and get you.
Personally, yeah, I think a load of rubbish.
Studies just like ChatGPT, never wrong.
What helps you get to sleep, Al?
Nightall.
Yeah, well, listen, night all, or what about Claire? I go to sleep and a bottle of wine usually does it for me.
That's Claire's stroke, Murren.
Cheers, Claire. You pup.
Michael said, yeah, watching a horror movie in bed would have me up all night. It would not help me fall asleep. I agree, Michael.
No, I
I'm
totally
saying.
couldn't see that now.
But with cliffhangers as well, because it affects your dreams and stuff.
Yeah, you'd be just thinking about it all the time. Tom says, I've been getting to sleep with a nightcap drop of whiskey for the last 20 years. So, like,
That's
what do you
Irish.
call
We
it?
don't have a problem with drink, do
But
we?
little, but I'm just like...
Like a nip. What, a nightcap would be what?
Yeah, just a little nip. But is that falling out of fashion? Because certainly, like, you know, my grandparents, they always had a nip and went to bed.
Yeah. Obviously is.
Do you have a nightcap?
No.
Do you have a nightcap?
Well, I'd have a glass of wine maybe with dinner.
Well,
Do you
glass
call
of
that a
wine?
nightcap?
No. Like, I'm talking about having a little brandy or a sherry or something.
No.
No, not normally to send me to sleep really
No,
anymore.
neither do I.
Mary, I always count sheep. There you go.
Now,
Helps
Tommy,
me
you said
sleep.
you
I
used
drift
to
off
do
around
that.
60. Well, I used to be a bad sleeper, so
Yeah.
I'd try anything, like counting backwards and kind of...
So you'd start at like 100 and would you
count
be asleep
backwards.
by one?
And then I
Or
get
you'd
to
be-
one again and have to go again. Disaster. But, you know, if you can't sleep, you can't, and your brain is firing. You listen to... What is it, horror podcasts?
Murder podcast, true
Murder
crime.
podcasts.
I used to. Now I listen to the classics. I listen to, like, Pride and Prejudice or Jane Eyre or whatever.
Oh, like, and then that just sets you up to
It's
sleep.
all about the voice. Just a very...
And would you have
calming
headphones
voice.
in?
I've got my headphones in, yeah.
Can we quickly just chat about the ChatGPT as well? 'Cause
Yeah.
I
sorry.
found that fascinating. And interest, just Sarah said, have we gone a bit too far with artificial intelligence now? Before we know it, it'll be doing all our work for us. It can do, if it could do homework for you, I mean, what child wouldn't take advantage of that? I would be all over that if I was a student.
I'm just wondering, have you seen your child? Have you heard about it then? Because they're definitely doing it in secondary school. 0896 111
Do all your exams
111.
and essays. It's amazing.
Be amazing.
Yeah, let us know what you think about that as well. I don't know what camera to look at. Now, after the break, he's got plenty of gold medals, survived MasterChef and conquered Hell Week. David Gillick is here and he's going to be in for a chat.
An amazing brown bread later on as well. So good. Touch it.
Well, it's coming up to 10 years since his retirement from professional running, and it's been quite the journey for David Gillick. I'm 5 years out. I could do with a bit of advice on this. To be at peace with that.
You started laughing when you heard that. Good morning, David Gillick. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me in. I'm good.
It is interesting speaking to professional athletes after the retirement because it's a period of adjustment that I think an awful lot of us can't understand because it has been your life. Like eating, sleeping, waking, everything is geared towards this one thing. Whereas the rest of us, we have a job and then we go home, we have a life. How was it for you when you were like, I'm done now, so what do I do with the hours of my day that are about running?
Yeah, that's like, and that was the hardest part of it. Like, you wake up one day, and Tommy, you'll know this, you wake up and it's like, well, what do I do now? Because you're in such a regimented, structured environment where you're always preparing for the next race or the next championship, the next match, whatever that is, and everything kind of revolves around that. So you work back from that. So your Monday through to Friday is all geared towards that championship, which in my kind of work, I suppose, was like could have been 8 months down the line. So that's all you're thinking about. And then you work in cycles. So you go from 1 year to the next to a 4-year Olympic cycle, and everything revolves around that. And you kind of said it there as well. Like everything, it's like a lifestyle. Your purpose, your confidence, your self-worth comes from that one area of your life. And that's all you're looking at, you know, because that means so much to you.
But it controls what you eat, how you sleep.
Absolutely.
Like everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
Your
Everything.
life.
Yeah.
Your life. You
But even
miss
it's-
family weddings. You
Yeah.
miss parties. You miss like the commitments to be at top level.
And the social element as well, because you're surrounded by like-minded people, the people you train with, and that's who you spend an awful lot of time with. And then suddenly you wake up one day and it's like, it's all gone. What do I do now? Who am I? Identity-wise, who am I?
And it's 100% worth the sacrifice to be able to take part, because this is something that you dream about from the age of being a young kid. But the problem is that everything you've dreamed about and you finally get there and then it just gets whipped from under you. And that's the hardest part, and finding out, who am I now? What do I do? Because I've always been known as Tommy the rugby player. So you talked about it, it's almost like a grieving. You mentioned it in a process. It was almost like losing a member of the family or something along those lines.
It was, and it was probably only a couple of years later that I realised that. Like initially, it all ends and you're kind of like, right, okay, I'll move on. It's that transition you hear about from sports people, but maybe it'll take a week, maybe it'll take a month, maybe it'll take a year, and then suddenly you're 2 years in going, I'm still not in the right place here. And that's when I kind of began to realise, and I went back and I did a little bit of a qualification in psychology, and I began to understand, why I was feeling a certain way. And I always remember the lecturer put up the Kubler-Ross model, which is the grief cycle. And I remember kind of, what's this got to do with sport? And then she obviously explained that, when you lose something, it could be the loss of form, it could be a defeat, it could be something that is very meaningful for you, i.e. my career. And I saw straight away that, I was went through the frustration, denial, and, I was in that pit of depression, if you like, and that's the acceptance piece. But I had lost a huge part of me. And I think as well, my career ended through injury. I thought I was going to go on to, I'll do Beijing, I'll do London, I'll do Rio, and then I'll retire and I'll be hunky-dory. Didn't happen that way. I went to one Olympics and then I retired when I was 30. And it was a little bit like, oh, okay, this wasn't what I had planned.
Yeah, and I remember it was interesting, I was speaking to Niall Quinn once and his wife Gillian, a psychologist.
Yeah.
And she did an awful lot of study on professional athletes who, that depression, it also can lead to other things, an awful lot of gambling addictions, drink addictions, all that kind of stuff. I suppose we as the public don't think about that. So when you realised that you were depressed, what do you do to kind of go, okay, that's not my life anymore, I have to park it?
Yeah, and it's an interesting question because some people, it might come quicker than others. And for me, it was probably about nearly 3 years. And I got married to Charlotte and we were expecting our first baby. And that was when I began to kind of realise, actually, I need a bit of help here. Really practically, it came down to a Sunday. I absolutely hated Sundays. And I used to dread a Monday because it would just start the whole week again. I'd firefight through the week. I'd get to Friday. Saturday, I was okay. Sunday, doom and gloom all over again. And this was just a vicious cycle. And I'd get up and I'd leave the house and I'd put the mask on and be that person that everyone kind of thought I should be. And then I'd come home, the mask would come off and I'd just fall apart. And Charlotte would see that. And that was but that's mental health. That's how easy it is to hide. Whatever you're going through, you can just put that mask on. And that went on for a couple of years. I changed jobs because I thought it was the job. It's not me, it's the job. And then the reality was that I can remember on a Sunday, Charlotte been heavily pregnant, and I remember thinking, I had a panic attack, and I was like, I need help. And that was day one. And it was actually Richie Sadler who I reached out to, because Richie went to the same school as me, he lives around the corner from me, and I heard him speak at an event. And I remember sitting in the audience going, he spoke about his journey, and I remember thinking, that's me.
That's you.
And I was like, and I rang him on a Sunday and he said, come on down for a cup of tea. And I remember when he said, come on down for a cup of tea, I was like, oh no, lads don't go for cups of tea. We don't sit there and go, how are you?
Yeah.
And then Richie said, come on, we'll go for a walk. And we went for a stroll around Marley Park. And that was the first thing. And that's where I think is really important when it comes to kind of mental health and exercises out in the open. You're in a green space. And Richie's not a bad-looking fella, but I didn't have to look at him. It was shoulder to shoulder, and it was like, he said, how are you? And I just went, whoa, this was it.
Yeah,
and that was the start,
Going for a walk, exactly, not looking face-to-face with somebody. And people talk about that even with their kids driving in the car, just having a conversation like that. I remember speaking to Derval O'Rourke, actually, who was somebody you work alongside as well. And I used to hate going to matches, or you go into events after and thinking that could have been me.
Yeah.
But she said, but you should appreciate that was you. You were there, you've lived that, and to enjoy it. You now are working, broadcasting a lot of these events.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy that? Do you get the same buzz, or did you find it difficult to go back to these events pretty soon after?
Yeah, I did initially. I was fortunate enough that I got opportunities pretty much after I retired straight away. And I can remember, even in the London Olympics 2012, I was in studio and I was literally commentating and analysing people I'd raced against and people that, my training partners and my coach was there, and I was thinking, I should be out there. And it took a while. Probably on the last couple of years, I'm now comfortable on that side of the track, because it's always better inside the ropes. And that's the thing. And it takes you time, because the generation change, and you'll know this as well from doing the rugby. You'll see people that whereas now maybe they're a little bit younger. You don't know any of them.
They're like, tell me who. But it is interesting.
And you keep in going,
But it is interesting for the viewer as well, because I think for the first few years when we're watching, we know that you know them. And that you can't be like, oh my God, the state of that run, they got off the starting blocks awfully there. Whereas when you have that distance, we're like, like, you can be more analytical.
Yeah.
And it's lovely because you also have the inside track on what exactly is going on and what's going through their head.
Yeah.
So you are enjoying it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like this year was fantastic, or last year, should I say, in Munich. You know, we had our best championships, a lot of youth, a lot of talent coming through, you know, results across the board and stuff like that. And that's really, really positive. And it's great to be a part of that. Like, it's a privilege to be in that situation where you're the first person they come off the track and speak to. You know, like that's fantastic, particularly when it's gone really well for them.
For them to see a familiar face like that it must be amazing as well. Listen, you are here for VHI Park Run, talking about getting people off the sofa and getting themselves out active again. You're going to stay around. You're going to put us through our paces a little bit later in the show.
Did you bring the leggings now and the bicycle shorts, guys?
It's me against Deric. He is going to be pumped up for this.
Oh my God! And since I beat you in the basketball yesterday, he's got a lot.
Deric's outside warming up.
It's a bad week already. Yeah,
it's been a bad week.
Listen, David Gillick, it's great to have you with us. We'll hang around. We'll get you some nice brown bread with Edward Hayden. You're going to look forward to that.
And something that's good to get you geared up for it, Alan. You've got some fibre in the kitchen for us.
Some fibre, yes. After the break, Edward is here and he's whipping up his world famous, we're really building this up, aren't we? His world famous brown bread. It better be worth it. We'll see after the break. Now, everybody has their own recipe for making brown bread, well, except for me and Tommy. We don't.
I'm going to steal Edward Hayden's because it's pretty damn good. I mean, this is my idea of heaven right here, Edward.
Yes, but I'm going to gift you the recipe.
Oh, you're going to gift the nation the recipe?
Yeah, the nation, yeah.
Don't be leaving anything out now.
Oh, no, I'm not one of those.
Okay.
I'm not one of those. There are people who do that.
Oh, I know they leave.
They
don't give you one vital
I remember a woman telling me one time, it takes an hour in the oven. I went back after an hour and it was as raw as raw could be. But anyway, there are people at that. No, not so. Listen, brown bread is one of those things, isn't it? And I suppose when we come to January, we're all kind of starting to maybe think of our budget and maybe starting to have our lunch in work that we've brought ourselves. So that's kind of what I've done this morning.
This is a very posh lunch now.
Listen, you're dealing with a very posh chef. No, but even it's the Friday night job as well with the glass of wine, isn't it? So I brought some lovely cured meats, some lovely homemade relishes, and of course the brown bread. That was on request. Now, brown bread is one of those things, and people might be listening and texting in this morning and saying, no, I wouldn't do it like that, or I wouldn't have the right temperature. And that's the thing. I suppose there's a uniqueness. I remember years ago, my teacher in primary school asked me to bring in the recipe for my mother's brown bread, and it was like 3 saucers of flour, half the blue cup of this. And I was like, well, what do you do if you don't have this blue cup?
The famous blue cup.
The famous blue cup. And there's a bit of that attached to it as well. So, listen, what I'm going to do is the lovely multi-seed brown bread, but people can change it and tweak it to suit themselves as well. I have 14 ounces, 400 grams of coarse flour, wholemeal flour. I use the extra coarse, and I think that works as the first kind of thing to make it that bit different. So pop that into the bowl. Then I'm going to sieve my flour. I have 2 ounces, 50 grams of plain flour. And to that, I'm going to add bread soda. Now, inexperienced bakers, sometimes we think that the rising agents, should be generously used. My top tip, if you take anything from it, particularly with bread soda, not so much with baking powder, be very mean and very frugal. So you can see I've used in the recipe, I've said 2 very level teaspoons, and I am levelling those. And that's important because too much of the bread soda causes like abnormal rising in the bread. Firstly, you'll get little kind of bits and warts sticking out of the brown bread because it'll rise up too much with the buttermilk. But also, it makes it taste stale. It dries out the bread. So be frugal with the bread soda. Whilst necessary, don't get overzealous with it. Now, into that, then I'm going to put a little bit of salt, a nice pinch of salt in there as well. And then I've got 2 ounces, 50 grams of porridge oats. Now, I have more than I need because I'm going to use some on the top. So that's 2 ounces, 50 grams going in there. Now, because I said I was going to do the multi-seed, I have a few mixed seeds here. So I'm going to put in a couple of spoons of the mixed seeds. But it's at this stage that you can get inventive. You might decide to put in some walnuts. You might decide to put in a fist of sultanas. You might decide to put in some dried banana chips or apricots or prunes into it as well.
Brown bread, is it?
Yeah. She's brown bread after a fashion. With some ingredients in it. You could call it like a health loaf as well. But I'm going to pop in those. Now, Then what I've got here is I've got 2 eggs. Now, that's the other thing that I think makes this bread really nice. A lot of people mightn't use eggs at all. The eggs will help to extend the shelf life of the bread, but also they give it that kind of cakey or that moist feeling. So pop in the bread or the eggs into the dry mixture, just like so. Now, again, you can see, if you see that lovely bread, mine is a little bit darker, and that's with some treacle. So I'm going to add in some treacle in here. This is a bit cool now this morning, so what I'll say to you, add in about a spoon of treacle. This is after getting a little while in the car coming up.
Lots of people wouldn't ever put treacle into
their
brown bread.
No, the treacle is that lovely kind of, gives it that nice sense of sweetness to the colour. Sometimes people might put in a little bit of stout into it as well. Yeah, to have it, like you'll often see that served with like a smoked salmon or something. The Guinness brown bread is very well known. Now, in there, I've got my 500 millilitres of buttermilk, OK? Now, if you don't have buttermilk, what you could decide to do is a little bit of yoghurt and fresh milk, or you could use fresh milk with a little bit of lemon juice in there as well, which you've naturally soured. I want to show you the consistency of this because it's the consistency that's most unusual. It's going to be kind of like what you might call, very high-tech culinary term, it's like that sloppy mixture, OK? Watery. And what I always say to people, if I'm describing it to them, it's not dissimilar to kind of porridge in the morning. Yeah. OK? So give that a nice good mix around. There's no kneading on this bread, which is very advantageous as well. Pop that in just like so. Then I've got my tin, which I have lined and prepared.
That's it.
That is your brown bread. So listen, you could be making that before you come out for work in the morning.
Right,
you could have it done in dip time. Pop it in there into your tin. Give it a nice rub around. Now, again, pop it in just like so. And then you remember I said I kept back a little bit of porridge. I'm going to put a bit of porridge on the top there, just like so. And I'm going to put a few seeds. What's most unusual about this for proficient brown bread bakers is the cooking time and temperature. So I'm going to pop that in.
And the place in the oven, would it be the...
Pop it into the middle of the oven. Top middle, if you like. And what I'm going to do is 170, 325 or gas mark 3 for 1 hour, because normally people bake it at about 200, but this wet mixture needs a little bit lower and longer. So 170 for an hour. After an hour, flip it upside down in the tin. So invert it out of the tin and pop it back in. And you can see that this bread that I have...
Take it out of the tin.
Take it out of the tin and pop it back upside down in the tin. And if you can just listen, actually, here, you can just hear...
It's hollow.
It's hollow, but also mine has that lovely crunchy crust-like exterior and that nice spongy centre.
Could you tell us how you did that again? Because I've been too...
Yeah.
Well, I swear.
What did they say again, slowly?
Did you use before the treacle, what did you add? It's absolutely lovely.
Put in a few apples and oranges and it'll be lovely. No. But no, it is a lovely thing to have. Listen, it freezes really well. Slice it if you're living, any of our viewers living alone, slice it maybe into 2 sliced portions, wrap it in cling film into the freezer, take it out the night before, and you have a nice fresh breakfast and no food waste. Have it with your soup, your lunch, your salami. It's just...
There you go.
You're cutting the crust off.
Because that's my 3rd slice.
Yeah.
They are lovely and crunchy, though.
Yeah,
They're absolutely stunning.
There's the crusts there, Mary wants the crust.
We'll have it for the birds.
I'm going to definitely steal that recipe.
Edward, always a pleasure.
You're very welcome. See you next week.
3 slices of it we've had now.
Warren, what's coming up next?
We're just going to eat bread for 15 minutes? Is that... No. On the way, we're going to be discussing why January is one of the most popular months to get divorced. Happy times. We'll be back with you in a minute. Welcome back. Now, a British law firm has seen divorce inquiries rise by over 150% for the month of January.
Wow. Here to discuss this and what steps to take if you are considering one is Divorce Coach Mel Murphy. There's a new one. Divorce Coach. Good morning to you, Mel.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
What is a divorce coach?
So a divorce coach works side by side with the lawyer and with other experts with the client and takes on the emotion of the divorce so that the lawyer can deal with the business of the divorce. So when a client can often be a bit overwhelmed, not sure of next steps, their whole life is in chaos, there's lots of change going on, And sometimes they don't know where they want to go or what they want out of the divorce. And there's lots of emotions involved, and they're not thinking clearly. So a divorce coach comes in and helps to understand what they want and puts together some practical steps for them. How are you going to sort through this? What do you want your life to be like afterwards? And what do you really need practically to get there? And they support them. They're kind of like their best friend in the corner. And usually a divorce coach has gone through it all themselves. They know what it's like. They've experienced it. They can be empathetic. But they also have seen so many other cases. They can think outside the box a little bit and say, what can we put in place for this particular client's needs? Because everyone's needs are different.
So have you then, as a result, like, have you gone through a divorce before?
I have, yes.
Okay, so you've been there, done that.
Done that,
And
yes.
we all know that they are, from anyone I know, they're emotionally draining, financially draining. They can destroy lives afterwards.
Yeah.
People can be left with nothing. They're so expensive. Obviously, no one goes into a marriage going, someday I'm going to get a divorce. Unfortunately,
Exactly.
it is a reality. We've got a very low divorce rate in Ireland. The
Ireland's
lowest in Europe?
actually one of the lowest in the world.
Lowest in the world.
And that's because it wasn't really legalized until just about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And also all the cultural norms and everything. It wasn't really something that we did. And even
But it's
over
growing.
the last, until recently, it was still, people feel a lot of shame and guilt from getting divorced. They feel like they shouldn't be doing it, right? So it's not something that anyone would take lightly. They usually take about 3 to 5 years to get to that stage. But it is changing now. People are coming out and talking about it a bit more. There's a lot more media coverage since the whole COVID.
But is it, because before a divorce would have been seen as kind of an elitist thing, you know, you could afford to get divorced, and then you saw people who were involved in domestic violence situations and they could never get a divorce. So is it more accessible now, or are we in a situation where people can't do mediation because they hate the person so much, so it's just going to be ridiculously expensive?
So there is a lot more support happening at the moment. It's certainly an area the government is looking into. They're in the middle of overhauling the whole family courts and divorce process, especially because it's been such a huge escalation in coercive control and abusive situations. And the courts are overrun, and the free legal aid and all the free mediation services are overrun. So there is a focus on, we need to have more support services out there, which is why divorce coaches are becoming much more popular. So I actually trained divorce coaches. I've trained in 25 divorce coaches, 22 female, 3 male. We need more male divorce coaches to help bridge that support. So there is more support services. You can get free mediation services for situations where that will work. And the free legal aid office is there, which is great to have.
Why, when we said there that this British law firm saw rise in inquiries in divorce
rise 150% in January. Why is January a month that is seen to be so high for divorce? I think September is the other month. Is that right?
September's the other month, yeah. So I think it's because people have the dream of the way the relationship is supposed to be. This perfect Christmas with family, the way it's supposed to be. And they relay that. That's played over TV all the time. And they relay that back to their current situation. And there's a big contrast. You also have all the stresses of family being pulled in different directions with in-laws, etc. So there's lots of different pulls and stresses during that time. And it can often be also the New Year resolution. Okay, I really had a very bad Christmas. And I just can't deal with this now. This year, I'm going to actually take that step. Unfortunately, also, when there is coercive control and abuse, that tends to escalate around Christmas time. Something about people being happy, not wanting the other person to be happy, and just pressing the wrong buttons to affect that relationship.
It's very sad.
But those decisions are obviously taken, like, you're not saying that I've just had a bad Christmas and January I want to get divorced. I mean, obviously as a divorce coach, you don't encourage people to get divorced. I presume that's not what you want to see?
Not at all, no. I want to try to get people to avoid getting divorced because it's really unpleasant and it's very, very stressful. It's the most stressful thing anyone's going to ever go through. And it does take about 3 to 5 years to recover from it. It's going to take a couple of years to get through it sometimes, and another few years to recover afterwards, both financially, emotionally, and getting back on track is the average. So we do look at what can they do to avoid divorce? What is really going on in the relationship? And that's the difference between a counsellor and a divorce coach, because a counsellor will look at the family of origin. So where are the values coming from in each partner? So, and that's very, very important. And especially when it comes to times of stress that we saw during COVID or financial stress, the person will revert to the way their family behaved, their family of origin. They go back to the parent-child relationship is really important. And having a counsellor come in and look at that and for the couple is very helpful because it helps them understand why are they having so many issues in their relationship. What are the differences happening there?
Yeah.
So they can talk about it. So family relationship counselling is something we always would recommend to try and avoid it.
And you've talked about the 7 stages of a relationship breakdown.
Yes.
There's a lot.
There are, yeah. So it kind of it starts from basically respect all the way down to disdain. And as when you get to that disdain is when you're going to have that highly conflicting divorces in the courts.
Because it's interesting, it goes disconnection, disinterest, disregard, disrespect, disappointment, dislike, and then finally disdain.
Yes.
And I think
Divorce.
Divorce. I think we've all gone out with someone that when you get to the end of the relationship, you can't even look at them anymore.
Yes.
Like that's what it is, right?
Yeah, and that's very, very difficult because at that point it's very hard to communicate effectively together, which is why mediators are very important there because they can see both sides and try and find the lines of communication that they can actually still rapport on. So I work with counsellors, mediators, and financial experts as well.
Is it true women make the decision to divorce more than men?
At the moment, about 60% or more of women are the ones looking to leave their relationships. And
Why
it's
is
usually I think a lot of women these days are under an immense amount of stress. They're doing the career, they're trying to unfortunately do most of the housework as well. And yeah, it depends on the relationship and the good ones that they'll be equally shared. And they also get to a time, and actually going through menopause is a very big time in women's lives. And that's being seen that as the estrogen levels go down, the looking after others changes to looking after self. And they look around and go, actually, I'm really unhappy with, the way this has worked out.
Yeah.
It's not kind of unfair. It's the balance is not working in my favor. The children might be a bit older because it usually happens in late 40s, early 50s is the biggest time when people, and they're looking at, am I really happy in this life? And again, it's taken many years to get to that.
Yeah.
They've usually gone through a cycle of grief for the dream, and they've tried to usually go to couples counselling and do something to save their marriage.
And it's interesting in all the research, it shows that divorces can affect men more because their work life changes. They don't have as much time to give to work because they're sharing duties with children and home life.
Well, I don't know, it obviously changes, but a lot of men have to leave the house.
Oh, 100%.
So that's huge for them.
The average cost of a divorce in Ireland?
It depends from 10 to 25,000. Yeah, it depends on how many, how much antagonism there is.
Wow. Interesting. Mel Murphy, of course, divorce coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
for
much.
joining us
Nice
this
to meet
morning.
you.
If this is something
Thank you.
that you
very
find
much.
interesting, 0896 111 111, do get in touch with us now. We've plenty more Ireland Dem come up after the break. Welcome back. Now, we were discussing earlier on this morning about this study done over in Ghent, is it?
Ghent University.
About how people, if they watched a horror movie before going to bed as opposed to not, they're dropping off to sleep better. Yeah, I mean, this is a study, so we got to believe it, Al. Fiona, though, has said, she's got the routine down, doesn't she? I have a total wind down before bed. Jammies on, bed nice. How does she get the bed nice and warm? Electric
blanket, a hot water bottle, whatever.
A little dab of absolute rose oil on my wrist. It's the only way I can get to sleep. There you go.
Rose oil. Is it lavender that's supposed to help you sleep if you put lavender on your pillow?
Yeah.
What's the face for?
Because I take them from every hotel, the sleep sprays. You're meant to take them, aren't you? Or am I robbing them? I don't.
And
I spray them at home.
What hotels do you stay in? I don't get lavender sprays in my hotels.
Do you want to start about what hotels you stay in? Are you really coming at me?
Is it Ross?
He lives in a hotel.
Do you steal all the shampoos and all?
Of course I do.
You're meant to.
Do you?
Yes, of course you do. You're paying for it.
But they don't.
You take the shampoos and the soaps.
I take everything that I'm not needing. I clear everything out, goes into my suitcase.
You do not.
I do so. You're paying for it.
But they throw them out otherwise because
they don't. They're the cap on. They're not.
No, because I think it's like they'd have to get rid of them because it'd be like.
I don't think if it wasn't opened, they wouldn't get rid of them.
How would they know, though?
Do you take towels?
No.
Dressing gowns?
No, because credit cards you get charged.
You get charged. But I do. I go in and I go. I say, "Oh, look at that! Now that's grand." Straight. Or you take them. You click. But you know what to do. You put them in your case. Because you know the way they don't refill them if you're staying for a few days. Take them all off, put them in your case, and ask them to be refilled.
My Alan Hughes. And you stay in a hotel every 2 nights.
He hasn't bought a shower gel since 1984.
Well,
Everybody does it. Everybody does it.
I asked at a hotel once, and they were like, "No, you're meant to take them because we have to throw them out otherwise."
Yeah, everybody
But now they've got the bigger bottles.
Oh yeah, they've copped on.
Because sustainability.
So you just take the bigger bottle. It's stuck to the wall.
Wow.
I tried to get it off.
That's a talking point.
Do you know what? We had loads of your messages, but we're just talking about how we're being robbers. So, sorry about that. We're not alone. 0896 111. You take the stuff, right? From
You
hotels.
do. Tell us, please tell us you do take the shampoos from a hotel. Tommy Bow, you definitely take a shampoo from a hotel.
No, come on. No.
After the break, from Dublin's first city to the temples of Tokyo, Claudia Carroll and Clelia Murphy give us an inside scoop on their latest adventure.
Did they take the shampoo?
Did they take the shampoo out of the hotel?
Disgraceful.
Now, from feuding on Fair City, they're never going to get away from it, to trips to Tokyo. Our next guests have been best friends for over 25 years.
Yes, please say hello to the wonderful Claudia Carroll and Clelia Murphy. Good morning to you. You're pointing. You're pointing at the ring there.
We're having a fight live on television.
Will we get that out of the way then? Will we get that out of the way?
It's all about the bridesmaid. That is the main thing. Yeah.
Oh my God, because Clelia's like, we're not talking about the engagement, and you straight away.
Straight in. I want to make her wear a veil. I'm more excited than she is. So the bridesmaid is wearing a veil. Yes,
so she'll get her in white.
I'm going to get her in white. She's going to wear a veil.
Are you bridesmaid?
Oh, number one.
Are you kidding me? She's no choice in the matter.
I wouldn't be allowed to get married without her.
Yeah.
Well, we should say congratulations on your engagement then.
What you need. Cleo's beautiful fiancé.
Yeah. There we go.
I'm not joking. Don't want to talk about it. We just need to bring. Have you done the plans? We got the hen night sorted.
Oh, the hen night sorted. Oh yeah, she's going on a mystery tour.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
She doesn't know where it is.
You just got engaged 4 minutes ago.
We didn't. We got engaged in June. We just didn't tell anybody.
Oh.
We just kept it to ourselves, because as you do. And so we're engaged for a while, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got engaged the June bank holiday weekend.
Are you in the engagement bubble?
You were just saying that. Yeah.
I love the. But I'm assuming that Claudia was part of the engagement now because she seems to know more than you.
Well, it got to a point where the girls were, my mother and my sister and Claudia were ringing saying, because he got down on one knee and asked my mother first.
Oh,
because they all know. I was getting phone calls every 5 minutes. Has he asked you yet? Has he asked
Meghan Markle. Did you see on the Netflix? She was FaceTiming her pal as Harry was proposing.
But I didn't know about it. He got me beautifully. I have to say, he got me beautifully. And what the clincher was, my mother said, Clelia, could you just ask him to ask you, because the garden looks amazing right now and I'd love to do a little party. Right? So I'm telling him, I said, listen, I don't want to know. Can you tell my mother when you're planning to do it, just to get her off my back? Sorry, Mum.
So the garden looks lovely.
The garden
lovely
looks
little
amazing.
party.
Did you have a nice little party in the garden?
But he had to speed everything up. Like, he had plans and he went, oh, I better accommodate the mother.
And the garden looked incredible.
The garden looked
incredible. It was only for it was literally for the family, so it was
Can we ask where this garden is?
Castleknock.
Castleknock, the garden in Castleknock
looked amazing.
lovely.
She had a look lovely. It was in full bloom.
It was like this. It was like the dress.
It was in full bloom.
We're going to have to, because I'm assuming we won't get into all the details now, but at some stage you will be probably going on a honeymoon with your fiancé, but you've gone on a honeymoon basically, kind of with Claudia.
Yeah. You went to somewhere that, because with high road, low road, you genuinely do not know where you're going.
So this is a program.
You don't?
Yes, you genuinely. No, and Clell arrived with a little backpack, travel size. I arrived like I was going on the Lusitania for a month. With clothes for... I was going...
She was going high.
Clothes for,
regardless...
It could be a sunny place. It could be... We could have been going to Donegal. It could have been freezing.
We were joking we were going to go to Farnfore. Knock.
You don't
we thought,
know.
this
really
is going to be... We can put a plane
everywhere. Are you going high, low? Do you dress posh? Do you dress
Well,
normal?
they'll give you a tip. You'll have an idea that the weather might be a certain way, and could you bring certain type of clothes? Like I was asked, would I bring like, you know, workout clothes? I'm going, oh God, what's this? Why? So they're the tips you get. But when you arrive to the airport,
And when you were told Tokyo, what did you think?
We just started screaming.
I started laughing.
We're at Terminal 1 in Dublin Airport, and we were looking at the departures board and thinking, well, there was flights to Cardiff, there was flights to, and we were
Cardiff's
going,
a lovely place.
Okay, yeah.
It doesn't matter where we went, we were going to have the crack.
22-hour journey. Yeah. The journey was unbelievable. But because you can't fly over Ukraine or Russia now, so normally the journey takes 16 hours.
So it's a couple hours.
But it was it's somewhere we'd always wanted to go.
You'd never know.
Did it fly business?
Finnair looked after us beautifully. Well, the person
They really
we're
did.
not telling you. If you want to find out who went high and who went low, you have to tune in.
But that's what I'm saying.
So
You're not going to tell us.
No, we can't.
Sworn to
Actually, there's no point telling you. That's like telling you. That's
I know.
rude.
I do enjoy that about the programme.
That's the whole
and you
point
don't
of
know.
it.
But to be honest, there wasn't that much difference after a while. Because the hardest part was we weren't together.
It was a
because
real
we were
test for
separated.
friendship.
So I was kind of, all these amazing things were happening. And the one person I wanted to talk to about it
Guess
was
what?
in a different hotel.
In the same country.
In the same
On the other
country.
side of the
Oh my
world.
God,
It was the
that
craziest
hardest
experience.
thing.
It was the best experience because we haven't been. We would be travel
tell
buddies.
about the Robot Cafe.
Japan
The Robot
and Tokyo
Cafe.
is just the most incredibly beautiful. There is no high road and there's no low road.
Yeah. There's a grace to life.
There is obviously.
There's a everything, like for such a huge, one of the busiest cities in the world, there's a grace to the way people
And a kindness.
live.
It's a kindness with them. They're very
Everything
nice,
about
aren't they? Yeah.
The other person. Like just a tiny example, we were filming on the street and the crew, you know the way you'd have cups of coffee, you'd be on the go. And there were no rubbish bins.
No rubbish
And we
anywhere.
were
There was no rubbish
There's
anywhere.
no rubbish. The whole thing is consideration for the other person. You take your refuse with you.
And bring it home.
Everything is about making sure everything's okay for the person who comes along next.
We should be doing that in
They
this
do
country.
that with their toilets. Can I just talk about the toilets? The toilet, the
Love
Japanese
it.
toilet?
Yeah,
the
the
heated
fancy
seat.
one with the
fancy one,
seats.
the
Yeah.
You
heated
don't
seat.
have to do anything other than present yourself to the toilet.
But I would advise
Let's not go there.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean
Just-
when you're travelling like that, you've travelled together
For years.
A lot, but I have to tell you, my advice on Japanese toilets is just if you're in a public toilet, don't press the wrong button to flush and the doors
We nearly
open
lost
and you're
Claudia
sitting on the
Carroll in a
loo.
flushing accident.
I'm not even
It was
joking.
horrendous.
Tommy's over there nodding, going, don't press the wrong button.
Don't press the wrong
The
button.
sounds that'll come out of you could have been on Match of the Day last night with Gary Lineker.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, to Alan, answer your question. We've been away multiple times.
So I have to ask you a
Clara,
hard-hitting
little
question.
one.
When you go to a hotel, when you've gone on holidays over the years, do you take the amenities, the little shampoo bottles and the conditioners?
Of course.
Thank you.
I don't.
Thank
My entire house.
I mean, it all depends on the.
It's full of them.
See, I don't bring stuff with me. I'll actually. I'm one of those
You
mad
use
people.
everything.
I use it while I'm there.
But then you ask them to restock it and then you take that home.
I know, but then you're living with them. Listen, I've literally moved house with some of those stuff that you're taking from a hotel, and you say, "No, I'm going to use them when it's posh, when they're guests." And then you find yourself keeping these little things. So I kind of I clear them
You
out.
feng
She clears-
shui. You do
I feng shui.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I take everything. Shower hats, soaps, whatever. They're all
Good girl. Good girl.
We're not alone.
We're not alone.
You're not alone.
I'm always fascinated by your origin story. And I think an awful lot of people are because you're so much in our lives. It is. Like everyone knows you from Fair City. If my mother laments the day that you're on, like always, all the time, why don't they come back? But when you first met, you were sworn enemies, Claudia, on Fair City. You were fighting each other all the time. Did you have to make a conscious effort to get along then as a result?
Well, Claire, you were so much younger and you were hanging around, your storyline was with Maeve McGrath and a much younger cohort. And I remember the first time I met you and it was freezing cold. I mean, they wouldn't do this now. It was winter's day like today. And they had you in like basically a bunny girl outfit. And the storyline goes...
God be
that
with the days.
Liz Malloy wanted you to pose on the bonnet of a car.
See, that's your memory.
You'd go...
That's your memory.
I
of
remember
meeting me.
thinking that you were like 20,
The truth of
19,
it
and
is,
thinking
my
that
first
poor
day in
young
Fair
one.
City, right? My first day in Fair City, I come into the set and I know nobody. I know a few faces and I look over and Claudia Carroll is giving me the finger.
Now, do you believe that?
No,
and I'm going,
Does that sound likely?
And I went, is she giving me... And I went, I don't even know this young one yet. And then I realised it's Maeve McGrath standing behind me. So that was the kind of the cute meet that made us go, I really like this young one. I speak her language.
Speak her language.
Yeah. So that's
But there were scenes like you draped across the car in a bunny outfit.
Stop.
As you were saying, once you're working.
Once you're working. I'd be thankful for the paycheck. Yeah.
She'd be great in Panto.
She'd be great.
Who's behind you? Izzy, I don't know. Look for yourself. I might not be that great.
It's all good. You were working all over the place. Like you were lovely. Oh, The nurses were loving you. You got all the stuff right on Doctors from what I can hear. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You got all the thing down.
And a
then
great story.
You're doing Channel 5, you were doing Sally Lindsay, aren't you?
I'm working with Sally Lindsay at the moment doing the Madame Blanc mysteries that you can see on Channel 5 if you have Sky. You have to tune it in, but you can get it. But you can't get it here yet. But I think that's an Acorn production. And I've just finished working with Jane Seymour, who's my new best friend, and she's a great young one.
This is in Harry Wild.
Harry Wild.
That's
Lovely
filming in
set.
Dublin.
It's a brilliant production that's given every actor in the country jobs. It's fantastic.
And everyone says she's amazing. Anytime we've chatted to people who've worked on the production, said she's just so lovely.
She's a proper grafter. I kept saying to her, "You're Jane Seymour."
I know.
But as you're doing the returns and you're doing, the shots are on you. Some actors will just walk off set and you're acting towards another colleague or the floor manager. She's there. She's straight up there. She's giving you her lines back to you when the camera's not on her. That's a grafter.
Yeah.
That's a star.
And
That's a
Claudia,
real
you have a
team
new
player.
book.
2.
2 new books.
Yeah,
Sorry, you have just not one. Sorry, you have 2 new
Claudia wrote
books.
4 books when she was in Japan.
Like I love
What, she was in Japan, she wrote 4 books.
While she was on the warm toilet in Japan.
the heated bum.
Tell us about your...
The Love Algorithm is out in paperback in the spring, April, here and in the UK, because it's kind of different dates for different territories. So it's about online dating. I could start talking about the research, but I would be here until 10 o'clock.
Yeah, all right. There's a lot.
And then I have another brand new one out at a date to be announced, but hopefully later in the year, and it's called Knock Once for Yes.
Knock once for yes.
Flush twice for no.
I love it.
You'll have to come back and tell us all about it.
High Road, Low Road, your episode's on the 24th.
24th, tune in if you want to know who went high.
Next week.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know, but I won't say it out loud. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you so much for having us.
You should do High Road, Low Road, the two of you.
You'd have great fun.
Oh my God, please just put him in a yurt or in a tent for 2 days.
You
I
can
want
get
to see
very
him.
nice yurts nowadays.
No, I want him in a field.
You want him on a donkey going
on
to
the
a yurt.
Monday. That's what I want to see.
I pay money to see that.
Mwah.
Thanks so much for coming in.
guys.
Thanks,
Now it's time to look. Forget the snow you woke up to on fashion. We're talking about spring.
Yes, Justine King is here to show us some lovely looks. Good morning to you, Justine.
Good morning.
What have we got?
So we're looking at transitional looks. So they are pieces that are going to transition our wardrobes into spring. So we're not going full on spring, summer here. Keeping it nice and cozy, but yeah, stepping away from winter slightly.
Okay, so Kelly is our first look.
Kelly is up first, and she's in a lightweight coat. So we're not saying you have to ditch the winter coats. It is still freezing outside. But this coat is from Irish brand On Trend, but it's nice and light in fabric. So it is that kind of throw on and go coat. Easy, good, simple length, and it's a classic coat you're going to have in your wardrobe for many years to come. As you can see, it has the 2 front pockets, and then it has a tie waist belt as well. The earrings there are from Lily and Ruth. Their first time on Ireland AM, and they are handcrafted. All of their jewellery is made with 98% recycled materials. We love to see that. And they are sterling silver. And then you can see the little St. Christopher necklace just poking out there, which is a beautiful length. But this comes in different sizes as well. So
St. Christopher.
I love a St. Christopher.
So good for people who are going on their travels. That's, I think, what it traditionally is you buy it for.
St. Christopher. Sorry, let's go on. You're stuck on the St. Christopher medal. The rest of the look we've got underneath this.
So we have, then this is sold as one piece. So this jumper and shirt, you can wear them separately as well, but they do get sold as one piece. And they are as well from Irish brand Friday's Edit, and that also comes in a blue and a black and a beige. So the whole range of colours for that too.
So is this like a style that we're going to see now, the little cropped
The little
jumper?
cropped half zip. You're seeing half zips everywhere, and we have been for the last year. But this kind of cropped half zip, but of course we're not telling people they have to get the tummies out. We've got the kind of layered look with the shirt underneath.
But can we talk to some brands? Stop with the crop. Just give us a break, lads. We're all not 18 years old.
Yes, exactly. So that longer length with the shirt as well is better for the rest of us. The trainers then are from Murphy Shoes, and they are a beautiful lightweight trainer. They are Gore-Tex lined as well, so they are completely waterproof, and they're 100% leather too. So they are great for these wet and icy days.
Oh, that is actually very handy.
Now, we saw this earlier.
Yes, so Simona's in this beautiful look from diffusion.ie, so an Irish online boutique. The stunning jumper is we're starting with the earrings, are we? So the earrings are from Lily and Drew, and these can be worn 2 ways as well. So you can actually take that freshwater pearl off and wear them just as a simple huggy as well. And they are their best-selling piece. So they do it in a solid gold with diamonds too, if you wanted to invest in that one. But I love that they do the gold-plated as well as a more affordable option.
Lovely.
The necklace as well, we're tying in that freshwater pearl here, sitting on this beautiful choker, and you can just see the subtle little gold bead along that too. So delicate and
very nice. Let's get into it because the material in this looks absolutely lovely.
Yes, so it is 100% cashmere. It's absolutely, it's like wearing a hug. This is designed by Kate, who owns Diffusion, so it's her Cashmere by Kate collection.
Is it a cardigan?
No, it's an oversized jumper, and she does this in a whole range of colours as well. So she does it in cream, in lilac, in pink. It's selling so well for her because it is one size as well, so it's fitting kind of an 8 up to a 16. And then the scarf is sold separately, but I love that kind of tonal look that we're seeing now of wearing the matching scarf, and this is literally like a wrap. I think travelling or anything in that.
It looks so luxe.
Yes, I think if you're going on a long flight or anything, or just wearing that on a day like today with your big coat, you're going to be super cosy, and it's easy to wear. The way it is a little bit longer at the back as well, it's a really gorgeous piece.
So comfortable to wear, yeah.
So then the jeans as well, these are a bestseller for Diffusion. They are slightly cropped, as you can see, and they've got a beautiful stretch to these denims. Great fit, and you could turn them up obviously for summer as well, for just wearing with your trainers, and they're available in an 8 up to a 16.
And then the runners.
Yes, so our shoes then, they are 100% leather. They've got elasticated laces, which I love, so you can just pull them on and off really easily.
Tommy was spotting these earlier. He was like admiring them, actually.
He likes the look of those. And they've got a super lightweight flexi sole as well, so they're not a heavy platform trainer, which we love.
Very nice. We're moving on to Sarah. Oh, hello.
Yes, so
in your frills. Look at you in your frills.
So this are very Emily in Paris kind of a look.
There we go.
Yeah,
Fair play.
you can see the inspiration there. We'll start off with those earrings. We've got these contemporary square hoop earrings. So a simple kind of everyday earring, these ones. And they are 18 karat gold plated on sterling silver. So they're not going to tarnish easily too. So the necklace as well, obviously all initials are available. We've just gone with A on this one. This one is solid gold, and it's a really beautiful, delicate chain on that too. But you can get it in sterling silver too.
Very nice. Let's get into the crux of this.
Gorgeous outfit. So again, this one's from diffusion.ie. So starting off with this jacket, a lovely light kind of suede-esque biker. This is a much easier jacket to wear than a stiff leather jacket. This just kind of moves with you. And as you can see, the gold hardware, so it means it matches your gold jewellery so beautifully. The bag then is antique Italian leather. So it's the crossbody, and as you can see, the zip pockets, and it comes with a little coin purse as well.
Yeah.
And then her jumper here, this is the Grace knit. So Diffusion do this in 5 different colours, and they just find it's a great seller because it's not oversized, and every jumper seems to be oversized these days. So for tucking into your skirts like this, teaming with your jeans, it's a lovely light little fit, and it is just a 3/4 sleeve too.
Okay, let's talk about the skirts because I love a fancy skirt with a shirt is one of my things. We saw on the Critics' Choice red carpet with Kate Blanchett and I think Amy Brenneman.
Absolutely.
And I just think at weddings, women wearing fantastic skirts and then just shirts.
Just shirts. I love it. And that's why we wanted to pare it down here to show, of course, you could wear this skirt with a beautiful cami top or something much dressier and a pair of heels. But this is how you're going to wear it for your daytime look and bringing this skirt right down and getting maximum cost per wear. So the boots then as well, they are from Murphy Shoes, and they're the most soft, beautiful leather, classic boot with your little bit of a block heel, and you'd wear them with everything, your jeans or anything.
That's great fun.
Isn't it
very
gorgeous?
different.
And the skirt comes in black as well, by the way. So if you don't want to mix the creams with the blacks, you could wear an all black look with that.
The skirt comes in black as well.
We all have that one friend who wears skirts like that out going for a cup of coffee.
I know.
Like that?
Yeah, I've got one friend
Carrie
who totally
Bradshaw.
carries that stuff off.
Wow.
It's really
Stunning.
amazing. Oh, hello, tonal Kelly.
Yes, nice and tonal, which is very now on Kelly here. The earrings, first of all, they're that little bit dressier, and they, as you can see, they have 2 different hanging pendants. So at the back, it's a little bit shorter, and then the freshwater pearl as well. So they are that little bit dressier to elevate the look. And then we have the necklace, which is the spinning. Which one is called the Mother of Pearl spinning necklace. You can see the beautiful Mother of Pearl on that, but it can be engraved as well. So they do engraving. You can engrave the back with any date or name that you want on it. So onto our tonal outfit then. The jacket here is from On Trend, and this is their vegan leather oversized jacket. This kind of toffee colour we're seeing everywhere. We're even seeing it on the red carpet at the moment. And it's just very relaxed fit, and it's a very kind of spring jacket, updating your kind of leather biker with your jacket.
And it'll look great with jeans as well if you're wearing flares or anything like that.
Wouldn't it? 70s vibes definitely to it. So then we've got this ribbed polo. So this is completely sleeveless, so it can be a dressier top too. This comes in beige and it comes in black too, but it's just a great layering piece, I find.
Yeah.
The detail on the trousers are really nice.
Isn't it? The little kind of tortoise shell on the belt is stunning. These are very spring. You know, this outfit kind of makes me feel like I want to travel or something. It feels like an airport kind of a style. They're from Balut clothing and they're beautiful and lightweight, and then they have that little bit of a flair too.
But do you know what? Like even now with an ankle boot, making a feature out of the length of them.
Yes.
Very cool.
100%.
Really nice.
A little sock boot or something with
Really
them would be
nice.
absolutely
And the
stunning.
shoes.
Yeah, we've teamed them just with a little patent leather loafer here, a gorgeous spring shoe. These ones are from Murphy Shoes. They're the brand Lodi, so they're a very well-known brand, and the gorgeous buckle across the front. I think you'd get years out of wearing them every spring and summer.
Absolutely.
Justine,
lovely.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Lovely looks this morning.
Now.
Oh yeah, we've been waiting all morning for this.
What we're going to reveal what shorts they're in. Is this what this is all about?
Yeah.
Tommy and Deric calling you in the gym.
1002.
Come on, Tommy.
1003.
Like he's giving birth here.
I don't know. David Gillick, I'm giving him a lesson here.
Come on, you haven't done. Come on, Tommy, will you?
It's coming up after the break.
Now you're very welcome back. We are in the Virgin Media gym. It's not often I am up here, but we're 3 weeks into January, and this statistically is when people fall off their New Year's resolutions. So David Gillick is here. He's going to keep us motivated. We're going to talk about the park run, VHI park run. I mean, the popularity of this is just going through the roof.
Yeah, it has. It's a brilliant event. It's on every Saturday. It's free. So 9:30 in over 100 locations all over the country. On a Saturday, you can take part. And the great thing about Park Run is it's social, it's fun, it gets people out. There's a sense of community, but it's also for walkers, joggers, runners. So whatever level you're at, you can get involved in. And like I've been doing park runs for many years now, and it's great to see how it's grown to locations all over the country, and the junior park run as well on the Sunday for younger kids. It's
so what's the difference? So obviously the junior one
is
just
2K.
Okay.
So 2K, and obviously on Saturday it's a free 5K in a park.
Okay, so the kids can't come along on the Saturday?
They can come along, yeah, they can come along. And again, that's the thing about Park Run, you know, whether you're pushing the buggy, whether you're bringing your kids along as well, you know, it's for everyone. And that's the great thing about it. So you're getting that sense of community, but obviously from a family perspective, and you're bringing people out. And it's a social element. So parks all over the place, you know, then you might get the coffee, you might get the cheeky muffin afterwards and things like that. But the main thing is it gives people a focus. It gives people a sense that they can belong to something. You get out on a Saturday and you just take part in it. And it's not a race. It's very much, if you're competitive within yourself, as you obviously are, you're going to want to go out and run maybe a little bit quicker each week. But it's not about a race or beating anyone. It's very much just yourself.
Okay, because that's the big thing. It's the start of a new year. A lot of people who maybe have done no exercise for the last couple of years, but might be just a little bit intimidated coming along to this with a lot of professional and full-time runners. But do you see all levels?
You see all levels, honestly, from walkers. So again, you can walk the park run. You know, you don't have to run it. And that's the thing. Sometimes people can be put off with the word run. It's not like that. You do what you want to do. If you want to run it, if you want to run, walk it. If you want to just walk the whole 5K, it's entirely up to you. And again, you will see people who will get involved at the start, maybe walking it. A couple of weeks later, they're now jogging it, and then they go on to run it. So again, it's very much open to all levels. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what's worked really well. It's a global event as well. So you get your barcode, you register, you can go anywhere in the world, and you can clock up your park run.
It's something I see my neighbours doing all the time, that the wife takes the two kids off, and it seems to be something that as a family you can do, boys and girls, men and women. It's really exciting. Right, okay, well it is time to, I suppose, get ourselves ready for the park run, and we have our own Mr. Motivator.
Here he is.
Deric is here. I mean, he's been so geared up for this as well.
Well look, the main
you
thing
do
is
park runs, don't you, Deric?
Yeah, I've been doing them for about 5 years. I do the one in Poolbeg, up in the waterworks in Belfast, down in Clonakilty in Cork. And I think that the main thing with it, the volunteers, it wouldn't happen without the volunteers. They're great, really, you know.
And that's the thing, with VHI we've managed to push out more and more park runs around the country, which is fantastic, and junior park runs. But the volunteers are essential. But also, you know, you've a few miles. You've a few miles on the clock. You've been outside in the weather, so you're cold. So you have to warm up. All right.
Okay.
So basic little things that I always tell people, regardless of whatever level you're at, it's just getting the body active and moving. So simple little squat, feet shoulder width apart, and all you're going to do is hands and hips, and you're just going to squat down. Okay. So again, keep your head and your chest up. All you want to do here is just activate the body. You've been up here lifting the dumbbells.
He's already making excuses.
Okay. And again, another one key for kind of runners is you're going to do a little single leg RDL. So stand on your left leg with your right hand. All you want to do is bend down nice and slow, touch your toe, come back up.
Nice stretch.
So again, you're getting your glutes and your hamstrings in there as well.
Good for balance, this for all ages too, yeah.
And then
alternate that, swap over.
I love trying to get my kids to practice their balancing, and it really challenges them. It's good.
It is, but it's that proprioception. You know, you're using all the little muscles in your ankles, your knees, and stuff like that. And you're obviously before exercise, you want to activate them because they're essentially important. Next one again, building up the intensity now a little bit as well. We'll get straight into a forward lunge. So again, just alternate that. So left leg, right leg.
That's good for quads, hamstrings.
Good for quads, hamstrings. You're engaging your glutes, you're engaging your hamstrings, which again are very important for when we're running and when we're walking.
You must find the park run very slow, do you, being a sprinter?
I find it very long.
Oh, really?
No, but I just love getting out. I think that clarity you have in your mind as well. You know, when you're out in the park and you're running and there's people around you. Right, so we're going to build up the intensity. I know you two are competitive. So we're going to do a bit of a challenge.
He's competitive, I'm not.
Burpees.
Okay.
We do some burpees?
Burpees, yeah, okay.
All right, how many can we do in a minute?
All right, okay, well, here, look, I've got my
Okay, we've 30 seconds.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, here he is.
We've 30 seconds.
30 seconds, come on.
Ready, let's start.
Put a minute
Come on,
on the clock.
let's go.
Ready? Off you go. Come on, quick.
One. Come on, Deric.
2, 3. Come on, Deric. 4. He's coming back at you. 5, 6. Come on. Not even halfway, lads. You're dropping off towards.
I can't hear anything.
On Tommy's wallet, we're all good. Keep it going. Come on, last 5 seconds. Come on. 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Oh, he's struggling. Easy peasy.
Neck in it. We'll give it a draw on that.
Enjoy it.
We'll see you at your next park run, right?
Captain America, thank you very much for that.
Cheers, lads.
Okay, back to you guys in the studio.
Well done, guys. We did 24 of them.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, who just wasn't on us.
Sounds I never thought I'd hear from Deric Arctic, and that's it. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Ireland AM Senator Lynn Rowan. She's going to be opening up on her experience with burnout.
Plus, from swiping to matches, we meet the women who have spent years studying online dating.
And we're rounding up the best wines. We've got pasta in the kitchen, and Deric is hanging out with seahorses.
Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow at 7.
Hope you have a good one. Bye.